Hi there. Thanks for joining me today. I'm Catherine. I recently finished creating a new journal from a very old book, and I thought you might like to take a look through it with me. It's been a lot of fun. I haven't made a lacy, pretty journal in a while, and I really enjoyed transforming this journal into something really pretty. It's very old. This book was from 1885, and I love the way it turned out. There's lots and lots of journaling space in it. Now, I moved the lace down just so that you could see the title, because it is from several of Shakespeare's plays. Well, you'll see when I take the lace off. The cover was in beautiful condition. For 1885, beautiful condition, the cover. The paper was very poor, cracky, not of good quality to stand on its own very well. Needs a lot of support. But that said, I will be sending along quite a few pages. So in case the new owner wants to make some tags or ephemera, I'm sending along some extra pages of, I think, from sonnets and from Romeo and Juliet and from Love's Labour Lost, and a few that are in here. This isn't Shakespeare's complete works, but I've wrapped it in this pretty lace because I've just been in a lacy mood ever since. Let's move that. I've been in a lacy mood ever since. And so I wrapped with lace, and I put this really beautiful little brooch on it with the little pearls on it and all the little delicate scroll work on it. And I just really think it just really adds. It was just meant to be. This brooch was meant to be on this journal. It just was meant to be. So let's measure it before we start undoing it. It is approximately about 4.5 inches by about 6 3/4, and it is about not quite 1 1/4, 1 1/8. Let's slip. This just slides off, or else you can undo it. Maybe you want to put the brooch somewhere else. Maybe you want to wear this brooch. It's a beautiful little brooch. And maybe use the lace inside the journal somewhere else. So that's certainly up to you. I think I'm going to bring the camera down closer so you can get a better look. So as I said, it's not a very big journal, but I managed to very comfortably fit 200 pages of varying sizes inside, and I did a hidden hollow back spine and added a little bit of lace because, like I said, I was in a lacy mood this time, but I didn't overdo it. It's a delicate little journal, so I didn't overdo it, but there's definitely some lush lace along that open edge, and I really love how it turned out. As ever, I've left the threads long. I worked with gold thread this time because there was gold here. The spine is so pretty. As you can see, it lists the different plays and sonnets that were in this particular volume, which apparently is volume 2. And when we open it up, you'll see right away here, I was able to use the original end papers, which I'm really happy about. The loose leaf of the end papers I changed into tuck spots on the front and also in the back. So there's 2 tuck spots, and it's really nice when you can save parts of the book and put it back into its original home. I love when I can do that with such an old beauty like this. You're going to see fussy cuts of Victorian ladies and Edwardian ladies and children and flowers. And I had a spring fling with Shakespeare. Let's put it that way. I had fun with green distress ink, which is a rare treat for me. I'm usually a brown distress ink kind of girl. This first little fussy cut on the opening page here is actually from a book called Queen Victoria's Sketchbook, I believe. She was quite an artist because she was typical of the monarchy in olden days, taught at home by a tutor, and she was an only child. So she spent her days either with her nanny or her tutors, and so she enjoyed many, many hours sketching and drawing right into adulthood. This is a little painting that she did of her own daughter, Alice. So it's a nice book if you can ever find it. And of course, you're going to find quite a few fussy cuts from Kate Greenaway. She just belonged in this book as well. The lace has been sewn in. You can't tell here because this paper wasn't very strong. I especially wanted the first page to be able to withhold a lot of opening and closing. So I adhered it to some tea-dyed paper. And that way it will last. And it still says 1885 there, which is what I like when I can save the publishing date, especially in a really old book like this. I mean, I don't want to do the math. You do the math. But 1885, this is an old book. And I like to think I did it justice and still left lots of room for the new owner to be able to journal and either write their own thoughts in it or their own poetry or collaging. As with any junk journal, the possibilities are endless. You can't do a springy kind of journal without a little Edith Holden in it. You've just got to have a bit of Edith, and the colors matched so nicely. You're going to see a lot of creams and sort of dusty pale greens in it. And I did quite a bit of stamping. I'm pretty proud of myself because I like to claim that I'm the world's worst stamper, and I think I did okay. And again, I had fun with my with green in here. And so there's a little, I believe that's a fern. I'm not sure, but I'm not a botanist, florist, or whatever someone who knows plants is called. Everything in this journal, as far as I recall, is from repurposed sources. So when I call my journals a junk journal, it really is, everything in it was someone else's junk that they thought to get rid of. It wasn't suiting them anymore, and it suited me just fine. So I find it from various sources, thrift stores, little antique shops, lots of happy mail. People have been very generous with me. Charity sales, yard sales, and such. If you've sent me happy mail and you recognize anything in this book, please know thank you very much for what you sent. That how grateful I am to be able to include it in this little book. Now this may look brand new, but it was one of the rare times that I found a little bulldog clip at the thrift store, and it was a full unopened package. So that looks brand new, and I don't want you to think, what's she saying? That little clip's brand new. No, it's not. I got it at my thrift store. I've got a couple of good ones in town. So here's some, this is actually legal paper. This is from a 1940s gardening manual. I made a tuck spot from some lace, and I backed it with some vintage dictionary. This is an antique, it's sort of a church card. I'm not sure what they're called, but you can see it was, someone had obviously saved it in their scrapbook, and it's not in their scrapbook anymore. But I just thought it was so beautiful. The colors matched what I was looking for, with the greens and the flowers and the ivories. And I love that there's some little forget-me-nots in there. So I've put that there. As ever, you can put any of these loose little tucky things anywhere you want, or you can take them all out and make your own. This Fussy Cut Lady is actually from a book that I have from 1888, so it's quite appropriate that she would find herself wandered into a book from 1885. And the other side of the gardening book, tea-dyed paper. I still haven't gotten around to tea-dyeing a batch of 8.5 by 11 sheets, so once again I had to get into my stash of legal-sized tea-dyed paper, and that meant a lot of offcuts. So you're going to see a lot of pages this size, because I didn't want to waste the offcuts. That's still a nice size page for journaling on. So in it went. I love this gold colored paper. And more tea-dyed paper. Here's a page, original page from the text block. I'm not sure how Shakespeare pronounced that. I would pronounce it Lucretia, but someone will know the correct way to let me know down in the comments, and please spell it phonetically so I'll know how to pronounce it. The little stamps up here were from a book of samples that I received from Your Creative Studio, and I just sewed on a little bit of lace. Now this is glued right on, so it's there. I just wanted to put it there again. I thought it was pretty. It reminded me of the religious card that is tucked on the previous page. And for these pages, I simply used good old contractor's tape that I mucked up with Distress ink, and I really like how that looks. This is a page out of an old pocket dictionary, and again a little bit of stamping with a little green leaf. A page out of a wildflowers handbook. I love the little circles. People who go looking for wildflowers will usually check off and date when they've spotted these, so they can keep track of how many they have seen in a lifetime. And you'll see it in birding books and such as well. For birders, they keep track of how many they've seen in the wild. So here's a little book, a little folio out of a birding book, again also from the 40s, I believe, but it was still a little too light for my liking, so I tea-dyed it. And I think it really, really looks nice tea-dyed. I love the way those swallows look. I used some faux cellophane tape to reinforce the fold on that old dictionary page. Here I used the first page from the chapter on sonnets, and I did some collaging with a napkin over top, and I liked the greens with the lavender colors. And this is from a book I found thrifting of Edwardian paper dolls, replicas of, it's a reprint, but these actually were paper dolls, so I just thought I would include her. So she looks rather snazzy, and a couple of outfits for her. Let's put her outfits back in here, and here she is holding a bouquet of flowers, and you can bend it apparently so that she can stand, but I don't know. I just thought she was kind of cute, and I even thought, you know what, there's room on the back there to write a little quote, and or do what you will with it. Oh, I don't want that hat to go missing, so I'm going to put her in first, like so, and then I'll put her little wig and hat hanging over the edge so it doesn't get lost down inside the pocket. So again, sewing machine down the edges of the pages that have lace. This is from a receipt from 1947, I believe, that I received in Happy Mail. The first page from the chapter on sonnets, and a little pocket that I made, that I fussy cut out of some other book. And then I just made a little journaling card using an illustration from a book I have of Kate Greenaway. It's a book of days with Kate Greenaway illustrations in it. And there's just such a perfect size. It's just full of tiny little Kate Greenaway pictures, which is perfect for us fussy cutters that like to also be able to make small journals. In the center of this signature, I've put a vintage little gift card in it. It is vintage, but it wasn't quite grungy enough for my liking, so I did tea-dye it. And then it was one of those kind that is a full sheet folded in 4. So what I did was I took an X-Acto knife and cut open the top, so it actually gives you several pages of journaling space from one card. There was a little sentiment on here about, you know, thinking of you and hope you enjoy this gift sort of thing. But what I did was I had some leftover blank paper from the original text block, and I simply used my tear edge ruler and covered it up so that whole page can now be used as journaling space. Some more of the legal paper. I made another pocket with a bit of a window here. I don't know if you can see through there with the using, you know, Mod Podge with the napkin again, but it's from Love's Labour's Lost. I haven't seen or read all of Shakespeare, only what I was forced to read and watch in high school, I must confess. But there's a little journaling spot, or you can use this as a bookmark in there, and I placed her just in the right spot so that she can peek out that window when it's in there, and that is vintage glassine that's in that window, and I just sewed all around the edge, and I like how that turned out. A little more of my stamping. Again, I'm very pleased. A great success with the stamping. The other side of that receipt. This is from a 1940s ledger book, and it's the letter N, so I just assumed N for nature because there's a lot of nature in this book, a lot of gardening things and flowers and springy kind of things. First page of Love's Labour's Lost. And this is from an old Bible from the book of Ecclesiastes. And I believe the other side is from Isaiah because of the way folios work when they're in a signature. We'll find out for sure when we get to it. With these pages from Beatrix Potter books, sometimes there are pages that come out as singletons. You can't get a full folio out of the book. And in that case, with these, well, you'll see with the other one, I simply joined them together by using sari silk and sewing them. And I like the way that looks, and I think the gold thread and the gold sari silk looks nice against this, I believe it's straw paper, brass paper. And here is the music that we found together when I did a thrift haul, and it's from a book that was from 1959. And I made a tuck spot from some wide lace here. I've used one of the little lockets that I found so many of. I was really fortunate at my thrift store, and it really does open, and it's hard to find something tiny enough to fit in these lockets, but that is, and I'm not sure who, but it's a relative of Queen Victoria in there. So maybe it's little Alice again. We'll never know. But I put that in there, and you can always put something different in that locket if you have a picture tiny enough of someone special you like. I made a faux cabinet card, and this was really fun to do. I wish I had done it on camera, but sometimes I just, for some peaceful time at my desk, I have to work without the camera going. And that was the case when I made this. If this looks familiar, this is from one of those books that we find all the time in thrift shops now, called Victorian photo albums. They're not really Victorian, they just call it that, and they're very pretty, and you can slide photos in behind. So I had a few, and I have cut them up and saved the smaller windows to use in journals. And I did a little bit of I feel like I channeled a little Donna Morgan here. Now, I do believe that these flowers came from some ribbon that Nancy gave me, but then I added a leaf and a little. Now, this is new. Okay, there we go. This came from when I treated myself recently to that book of labels. So there, that in this whole book, that tiny little label is new. And the back is, I left it plain. It was an end paper out of a book, but it's gold, and it's really cool looking. So I've left it up to you. If you want to, you can glue some lighter colored paper onto it so you can journal on the back, or if you like it just as it is, just leave it the way it is. And she's just out of a book. She's one of those borrowed ancestors that when you find the right books, you can cut the photos out of the books. And with a little distress ink, you can just adopt some ancestors and put them into your junk journals. And it's a fun way to do that. And down here, you can see where the copyright date says 1959. So here's the other side of the Beatrix Potter page that I was telling you about that I sewed together using sari silk. And there's little, I believe it's Miss Moffat. And she's ready for the party. So she looks like she's got her beautiful dress on and she's busy cooking food. Yes, I was right, the Book of Isaiah. So I will go through and find out the dates for these books. Usually I have it already written in, and I haven't done that from the years that the old books that I know of that had a copyright date in them. I will write in pencil down below. This is the other side of the ledger paper that was from the 40s, and I put a little fussy cut again with the greens, focusing on the greens. I had to add a little eggplant. This book reminds me a lot of the colors from my wedding. Our colors for our wedding were a dusty green and ivory with a little pop of eggplant here and there, like my shoes underneath my wedding dress were beautiful satin eggplant color, so that every once in a while if you saw my toes peeking out from underneath my dress, they were a beautiful deep purple, and they made me so happy. I mean, it was a happy day anyways, but those pretty shoes made me very happy. And more stamping, and I like how it goes with the green ink on the ledger paper. A little more Kate Greenaway here. I just collaged, found a stamp with the right shade of green that I was looking for, and I only sewed it onto the picture from Kate. I didn't sew it right through. So I like that it turned out that way, so that this page is still quite, you can journal on it quite easily. That's the neat thing about ledger paper for journaling, because the lines are going either way. So no matter what direction you put the paper in your book, it's usually very usable. And a little bit of lace there. That's a little tiny offcut of the lace you saw earlier that was a tuck spot. So nothing got wasted. A little more of my stamping, my successful stamping. I made a tuck spot, pockets in the center of this from the name of the book now. I've got to find it because it's going to drive me crazy. Nature's Diary by Janet Marsh. It's such a pretty book, and it's a big book. So what I did was cut the page in half and glued the two halves together, and then both sides are tuck spot. So what I've done, and again you can move these wherever you want, is I've put some tiny little envelopes with some little tea-dyed paper inside, so that you can, this is tiny little airmail envelope. Found these on garage sale. A lady had used these, I forget, for some reason for her wedding, and she bought way too much, and oh boy, did I get them for a great price off garage sale. Thank goodness she overdid it for her wedding. And so it suited me just fine. And then on this side is, again, another tiny little envelope. This one is vintage, and it's so pretty, and it's just got some little flowers with a little butterfly. And the butterflies that are in this book tend to be in the illustrations rather than, I didn't go crazy putting butterflies in this book. So if you see butterflies, it's because they're in illustrations. And I really like how this turned out. And there's even room for journaling in the blank spaces there on those pages. I will definitely do that again. And the ledger paper was too long, so it just fold it in and make use of it. Lots of tea-dyed paper that I left blank for you, which you know is hard for me. Here I had some offcuts from the check registry book that I have, and it was too long. It was going to be in another journal at one point. I have a whole box of folios that were intended for other journals, and then I just overshot how many I thought I could use, and now I have a box, a container full of already folded, prepared folios, and if it still suits the book, I'll work with it. So I folded it up, I sewed it, I did some stamping again, and made a little tuck spot there. And of course, it's got to have a Two Nanas bookmark in it. This is from a book I have that has the streets of London in it, and just a little whale tail tab that I sewed some lace onto. And this is from a butterfly book from the 1940s, and it's the kind of book that is glued together. So and it would have been too long, so I just left them separate, and I just like the way that layering turned out, and the way I folded it so that it says the anatomy of butterflies, and then the two beautiful, again, the dark purple butterflies, again incorporating butterflies in with the illustrations rather than fussy cutting butterflies and putting them in. And a little watering can with the green ink, Taming of the Shrew. I love that one because Katerina, first of all, great name, and I like that she's feisty. And then with this tuck spot, I wish I could remember her name. I just watched her video this week, how she used a similar page and made a tuck spot, a corner tuck spot, so that it looks like it's all the same page. See how this is all from, again, Lucrece, but this side of it I inked and stamped on. I had to double it up because, again, this is that crackly paper, and I just put in one of that beautiful lace tea dyeing. I can't do that. Mine's a mess. That's from Nancy. And this is just some really pretty little pansy stationery with really beautiful embossing on it. So I included a sheet of that in there. More stamping, and the other sides of those. 1929. Oh, so I was off a bit. I thought 1940s, 1929 for those. Another little tuck spot here. Let's move Nancy's over and put that in here because I don't like empty tuck spots. A statement of accounts from somewhere in the 1900s, because they've done the 19 for you there, and so that means it's not from this century. Some more stamping, a little bit of Joan England, who passed away recently. Again, the colors were perfect for this book, with the creamy colors with the greens. Her sweet little illustrations. I used to love these books when I was growing up and try and draw like she did. Romeo and Juliet. Some more. I used lots of this paper in this book. Here's another little vintage card, just to say hi. It's a blank one, or maybe a little thank you note, and I did the same thing. It originally could fold out, a sheet of paper folded in four, but I sewed it into the center, and then I used an X-Acto blade and opened up the tops so that you have 4 pages of journaling. And if you don't want that, you can always run a bead of glue along those 2 edges and create yourself a pocket there. It's very simple to do, and in case you need another tucky spot, it's all ready to go. It just needs glue. Romeo and Juliet. Look how sweet those little illustrations were. Oh my goodness. What a talented artist. A little bit of fussy cutting with the little wrens. Oh no, that's nuthatch. Little nuthatch there. And then on the final page, again, tuck spot created using the original end paper. And this again was from Happy Mail. I believe this was from Camille. And I thought the pinks matched the pink in her dress and the pinks in those flowers. And I liked just how that looked. And my little signature and the year on the back. So I love how this journal, even though it's small, you can see there's a lot of room for writing in it. There's 200 pages, and I would say 85% of them are ready for writing on in various places, or else the whole thing. And just nice, soft, easy on the eyes, a peaceful little journal. So this book, this journal, along with the little bit of extras, should be available in my Etsy shop. I'm hoping that it will be in my shop by about 5 p.m. Eastern time, which is New York time. So you can figure it out from there, wherever you are in the world. Where I live, we're on the same time zone as New York City, so that's how I say it, so that you know. But I'm aiming for 5 p.m. So keep an eye on it if you think you might be interested. I hope you'll go over and take a look. Don't forget, Etsy does not refresh their pages, so if you are over there and you think you don't see it, try refreshing the page, because sometimes it shows up. And it's just that Etsy doesn't automatically refresh the page. You have to do it for them. Etsy does a lot of things for us, but it hasn't figured out how to refresh a page. So there we go. Thank you for taking the time and sharing a moment with me to take a look through 1885 Shakespeare with me. I hope you enjoyed it. I sure enjoyed making this journal. And we will get together soon, and I'm going to choose a new journal to get started on at some point this weekend. Take care.